physical feeling or an emotion useful if you can identify that. Now, as you're doing that, see if there is some other person, past or present, and often it's in our past, who really provoked a oh, wait, we also want to say, is there a thought going with that? Oh, I wish that man would shut up. Oh, why can't that child sit still for one moment? Um, Whatever the thought that goes with it, just notice that as well. And then see if that leads you to a similar bodily sensation, emotion, or thought with another person that's in your uh, sphere right now, or that has been in your sphere in the past. A little clue is that often what will particularly hook us in the present is a similar experience, feeling, thought to one that we had when we were um, in a more vulnerable point in our life. We were either children or we were at a pretty difficult emotional space because of our situations. And if that particular kind of emotion, thought, feeling was evoked then when it arises today, it's much more powerful. I'll give you a quick example. I have been a supervisor for psychology graduate students in my past, and I usually am pretty protective of my students, pretty supportive of them, really enjoy watching them blossom. And I had a student that irritated me. He'd come in for supervision. He was prepared. He wasn't the best student I ever had, but he was certainly quite adequate. And I still found myself just being irritated by this student. And I just didn't understand it. And finally, I was able to step back enough, you know, do my 3 or 5 breaths. Maybe I had to do them a couple of times, and to say, what is similar here to other difficult relationships you've had? And it turned out that my student had some similarities to just habits of my ex-husbands. And, we were ex-spouses because we didn't do well together. And so as soon as I went, oh, there's just a little similarity there in just their mannerism. That's all that is. I was really able to let go of almost all irritation with that student because I could get some perspective on where it was coming from. So that is what can happen with you about that particular person. Realize I'm saying you don't have to change anything. Just notice it and then hold it. I have a teacher, and I think this information came from one of the poets. I'm sorry, I can't get it at the minute, who says, when you have a negative emotion, just put out the welcome mat for it and say, oh, there you are. Anger, jealousy, criticality. Come on, just come on in. It's okay. That's just, you know, that's just an emotion. It's just a thought. Once we stop resisting that emotion, our whole perspective changes. So just hold on to that as you try in your life not to be angry at somebody or not to be critical. The trying not is taking too much energy. Just Say, oh yeah, there I am. You'll be surprised how much easier things get. Now, what I'd like to do is just do the same sort of practice. And I'm not even going to go through it all. I'm going to ask you to do this part on your own. But I want you to pick out just a situation. For me, it used to be getting out the door in the morning. It would just get sort of chaotic, and it would seem like no matter what kind of planning I had done, I was late, that sort of thing. Pick out a situation that occurs when you're uh, in relationship with friends or family, where you look back and say, every dinner time for the past 4 nights, I've really been irritable. Just pick the situation and just notice how you're feeling, what feelings are being aroused. You're being harried. You're feeling stressed. And the next time you're in the situation, you may not be able to recreate it in your mind right now, but the next time you're in the situation, give yourself permission to step away. You may have to step into the pantry. You may have to step into the restroom. You may have to just find a little private place and just find your 3 breaths and just move away from the immediacy of the situation just a bit. Again, you're going to want to see if you can name what you're feeling. For right now, those are all of the things we need to do to help us ultimately find a more fruitful and pleasant and efficient way of moving through those situations. The first thing to do is just step back and get a sense of what it is. What does it feel like in my body? What emotion does it evoke? What thoughts does it bring to mind? By the way, most of the thoughts are sort of not reality based, like, oh, this is going to go on the rest of my life, which we know on a real objective level it's not. So just notice that those are just emotions. Those are just thoughts. They're going to pass through. And right now, they're present for teaching you. And let them teach you rather than overwhelm you or engulf you. So, I know I'm trying to put a little too much information into these sessions, but I just want to give you some kernels to start with. So let's move to, yes, thank you, Ashley, exactly. Moving to this slide that really lets us say, why? Why are we so much focused on internal? When what I really want to fix is my family and social situations, my work situations, and figure out a way to have them be harmonious. Well, let's go down to the quote from Viktor Frankl. This is why we're doing this. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space is our power to choose our response. And in that response lies our growth and our freedom. In that response lies our growth and our freedom. So here's what I would say. We don't suddenly have the stimulus, which will be getting irritated or upset, and immediately get in the space and behave differently. The first thing we have to do is even find the space. So the way we find the space is to take our mini practice in some way. to say, ooh, I'm getting upset. Let me step back. Stepping back is creating the space. And just take a real sort of objective look at what's going on. And what that does is allow us not to react, but to choose to respond. Right now, the only response I'm inviting from you is to just look at the situation and lighten up on yourself about it. Oh, okay, so I'm anxious again. Well, I've been anxious before. I can get through this. Um, that's the only response right now. And as we go into tomorrow and as we go into Friday, we're going to work on just developing a few responses that maybe we can sort of keep in our hip pocket and pull out when we're not quite sure what to do, responses that won't be painful or hurtful uh, to ourselves or to others, but that will allow us to hold our place and our space. Okay, so I want to say that the end of this slide doesn't make sense. I don't know what happened, but I sort of started trailing off when I did this slide. So let me go to that last bullet and say, later in the week, we will talk about finding alternative actions or responses to the more stress-causing situations that we are having now. And when we have a stress-causing situation, we usually react, and then even the reaction is a stress-causing reaction. So it multiplies our stress. So later on, tomorrow and Friday, we'll work on that. And one more time, I'll fix these slides so at the end of the week, you can come back to read them if you'd like. And hopefully they'll make sense. So let's just take a couple of nice, deep cleansing breaths. Deep in breath and long out breath. And let go of all of this verbiage from me because it'll come back to you. And for the moment, just be present with your breath and your body right here, right now. Feeling just the true power of being in this moment. Sitting, knowing that you are sitting. Breathing, knowing that you are breathing. Allowing any softness, warmth, or relaxation that's there to just flow through the entire body. As you take in the warmth and the softness on the in-breath, and allow any residual tension or anxiety to move out on the out-breath. Just realizing the simplicity, the power, the rightness of being right here, right now, with this breath. as we are coming to this learning session, this mid-morning break, realize that if you can take just a few more moments after we close to sit and breathe, just let these breaths and the flow of these breaths continue as we quietly close the session. And I look forward to being with you tomorrow. May you be well and safe.